I'm Arthur Moats, and I'm here to tell you about my new book, The Moats Theory of Life. If you haven't picked up a copy yet, I strongly encourage you to. This book not only is a fun read, but it's a guide to helping you become a person of impact and inspiration. If you are ready to take the next step to improving not only your life, but those around you as well, go get a copy of The Moats Theory of Life, and it's available at moatstheory.com. What's up? It's the Arthur Moats Experience with Deke. I'm Arthur Moats, and that's my main man, Deke.
What's up, dude?
Man, you already know it's good over here, baby. Sitting at the big time 7-0. How are you, man?
I'm great. Good vibes all around.
Shout out to the vacation, too, man. I was talking a little bit off mic about this, man. Like, I'm over here, got the hoodie on, the hat, all Steelers drip, by the way, because we are victorious Victory Monday, so you got to make sure you got your colors on. But then on the other side, you look like you on vacation somewhere. You got the Hawaiian shirt with the shark and the palm trees, taco meat showing. We definitely got sex symbol Deke in here today. Shorts on as if it wasn't snowing a little bit yesterday. I said, oh, man, that's Deke, though. I love it.
I did. I woke up this morning and saw some snow on the ground. A little bit surprised. It's winter, so I got to start dressing down a little bit. Shorts, t-shirts, and stuff. In the summer, I'm wearing hoodies and jeans.
It's crazy. I don't know how you do it, man. I do not know how you do it.
It's not something I think about, but I'm starting to realize this is what I do.
I could dig that.
It doesn't make sense.
Man, so once again, though, shout out to everybody, man, that submitted questions. We did a little fan question like how we did last game. And, man, we got some awesome questions. I can't wait to dive into it. I was going to say, before we dive into it, though, just your initial thoughts on the game, man.
Great game because it was ugly. It wasn't pretty in the first half, but the defense and offense both clutched it up in the second half. And I like that, especially, we talked about it on the preview podcast, two great teams going at it like this. Mm-hmm. To come back like that, that's impressive. I really like that. To win when things aren't going your way completely, like how they were in the first half, to come back in the second half, that's a sign of a great team.
Loved it. Loved the performance, man, as a whole, offense, defense, special teams. That's what I wanted to see, baby. And it's a dub. And anytime you're beating the Ravens, man, I love it. Because I don't like the Ratbirds, man. They It's Baltimore. It's just, that's what we call them.
This isn't one of their versions of an average team or below average team or just even above average team. This is one of the top, 5 teams, 5-6 teams in the league right now. We just had to we had to get the dub and stay 7-0, man.
Listen, we're going to get into these questions. My question for the people, for all the naysayers and the doubters is, what's the next excuse? Because we've heard the excuses throughout the season, man. All right, it's the easy schedule. They haven't played anybody that's winning. They haven't played against anybody with a legit quarterback. They haven't played against a legit running back. Oh, it's because now they got to go on the road. We've seen all of these narratives come up, and they're still finding ways to get the job done. Just what's the new reason why? That's all I'm ready to hear. But we'll get to that later. Time for these fan questions, though, man, because I'm excited because as always, man, they come through with some awesome questions. And this first one is from Tyler Morris. Shout out to Tyler. And he just asked about walking him through the locker room after a big win, like obviously the Titans and the Ravens game. And ultimately, how do you prepare for an opponent who isn't very good following that up because the Cowboys are coming up next? And he was like, he just doesn't want to see the team come out flat or play down to their competition after such highs. And he appreciates our fire content. So Tyler, shout out to you, man. Dude, it's nuts though, man. Anytime you are able to have one of those, or in this case, multiple wins back to back against undefeated teams, against teams that have a lot of pomp and circumstances surrounding them, teams that you fancy as contenders as well. And I think we would all agree that the Titans and the Ravens are legit teams. You go crazy in the locker room. I mean, I think you saw the videos right now of some of the Steelers players, dancing. Obviously, Juju had the TikTok in the locker room and things like that. That's what it feels like because you work so hard throughout the week. You put so many hours, so much sacrifice to have this one opportunity to win, this one opportunity to have two undefeated team versus a one-loss team. And what's at stake. You know how big of a game it is and the rivalry element of it as well. So when you win those type of games, man, you go crazy. Imagine just, middle schoolers, the first time something good happens in their life and they all just jump around like kids. That's what you do even as grown men. You see 300-pound grown men in there just jumping around, hugging, high-fiving, because it's an awesome feeling. But the thing is, we have what you call the 24-hour rule. And the 24-hour rule is this: regardless of what happens in the game, regardless if you win, if you lose, regardless if you have the best game of your life or the absolute worst game of your life, you have 24 hours to either enjoy it or mope around and be in the dumps. But after those 24 hours are up, you flush the toilet, you move on to the next week, because otherwise you get what they call the hangovers. You heard about the Super Bowl hangovers, or a team goes on a run of tough opponents and then they have that underwhelming performance against a less competitive team. You have that hangover like that. So that's why you always have to talk about the 24-hour rule. And I mean, here in Pittsburgh, I feel like we do a really good job of that, because it doesn't just apply for when you're playing against a bad team. You have to apply it when you're playing against a winning team as well. Because imagine if the Steelers, for example, would have been out here last week, we beat the Titans. Oh man, throw us a party, and then they come out and lay an egg versus Baltimore. It doesn't matter. But when you 24-hour rule it and you say, you know what, I'm going on next week, let's get after it. It all works out like that, and that's why I feel like Steelers are being able to do what they do this year, man.
Would you be in any of the TikTok videos if you were in the Steelers locker room?
Absolutely.
You would be.
Funny thing, man. We all remember the epic AB being
Dude,
on
I was
Facebook
just about
Live,
to
right?
say, was AB ahead of his time?
No. So this is the thing. AB just got, because of AB's platform, people picked up on his, because obviously he kept recording when Coach Simon was speaking.
Right. That's the
all
difference.
of us, but all of us were recording doing that. I get on my social media. Vince is on his social media.
Wait.
Swear, absolutely. Yes.
While Tomlin was talking.
No, I said that was the difference.
Okay,
I said we
yeah.
were all on it prior to. But the thing was, once Coach T said, all right, guys,
AB
we're
didn't
talking,
stop.
AB didn't stop. That was why it got blown up and why people made it bigger than what it was. And then obviously when Coach Thomas said what he said about the Patriots, they blew that up as well. That was the biggest thing, man. But trust me, after every game, you pull it up on the phone, because
TikTok's just the new thing now.
Yeah, TikTok's new. Before then, it was who gets the tweet out first or who gets the IG post out first. Now it's just TikTok. I mean, it's yeah. I'm sure, before that it was Facebook. Yeah, and we can go down the list of the different things, the different social media avenues. Because, I mean, obviously you hear people talk about the brand and all of that and stuff like that, but you're just so excited. You want to give that raw emotion to the fans, because you know that they eat that content up. They love it. They want to have those opportunities to feel like they're a part of the celebration.
Give the people what they want.
Sorry. So even though it could be a 30-second clip or a minute-long clip, to the fan base, man, they feel like they are in there the whole time celebrating. And for us, we love that, because you always are trying to bridge that gap anyways. So yeah, that I would definitely be on.
I want to say one more quick thing about that question too. You know how they talk about the Tomlin loss, or like the Steelers, we have a big game and then we disappoint the next game against like an inferior opponent. I just really don't get the vibe from this team at all. I was talking to my friend, and they were talking about the Dallas game. I'm like, all right, I think we got the Dallas game in hand. Third string quarterback, just how Dallas has been playing.
Oh, don't do that now.
Hold on.
Don't do that, because you know who that quarterback is. Don't do that.
Stop.
You know what Willie went to. Don't do that, man. Don't do that. Go Dukes.
Stop. But because he was like, oh man, I don't know, dude. Even though they're so bad, you just can't let up or anything. And just knowing the Steelers, they're gonna come out and lay an egg next week. And I was like, nah, I really don't get the vibe from this team at all. I think that's even just that narrative in general is overblown, but I really don't think that. I just don't get that vibe. I think we're going to come out and ball out whatever week it is, no matter who the opponent is. It just seems like everyone's laser focused here.
I definitely agree with that, man. Shout out to that first question by Tyler. So now this next one is from AB.
Whoa.
We don't know which AB. It just simply says from A.
What's the profile pic?
Just an A.
Whoa.
So you never know. You never know. We're going to let that speculation just linger a little while. We don't know who AB is. But what AB says is, how do you think the injuries will affect the rest of the season? Obviously, Tyson Alualu went down. Let's see, who else went down in the game?
Gilbert wasn't there.
Yeah, Gilbert, he got hurt throughout the week in practice.
What other
I know
injuries?
Cam went down for a little bit, but I don't know what the report is on that. I know they said it's not serious, but yeah, Mike Hilton, he missed the game as well. I mean, I think
that's it.
Yeah, I think as a whole, because I don't think there was any other newer injuries, but as a whole, will the injuries have an impact? Yes, because it's starting to test the depth. We saw that even yesterday with Isaiah Buggs and Henry Mondeau, having another opportunity to play in their expanded roles. We also saw Marcus Allen make his first appearance on defense as well for the injured Ulysses Gilbert. So we're starting to see other guys have to step up and produce it and play. And I think that's part of the reason why the Steelers even made the move for Avery Williamson of the New York Jets. Well, formerly of the Jets, they made a trade with him. If you're not aware of that, that just happened yesterday.
Yeah.
They traded a Steelers 2020 7th round pick for Avery Williamson and a Jets 5th round pick. He's also restructuring his contract as well. So I do think that's a part of just trying to get more depth and just more quality players, because right now we are starting to see the team have some injuries, but I think that's just a true test to the depth as a whole to start the year out. And we talk about the role players. We talked about Henry Mondeau last week in terms of how it's not always going to be perfect, but you need impact plays. If they can get 1 or 2 impact plays per game, that's huge. Absolutely. And it would have been a touchdown otherwise. So that was a huge portion of that game. Then obviously we saw Isaiah Buggs play really well, especially later as the game progressed. That's the biggest thing that I think will offset the injuries is that we still have a ton of depth, because you think, I mean, even when you look at the offensive line, Chooks, Okafor, we don't even talk about Chooks, and Chooks wasn't even the starter to start the year off. We saw Dotson come in and perform well. Now DeCastro's back. That definitely alleviates some of that. But we know, man, even with the receivers, we saw Deontay Johnson miss some time as well. It's just a stacked team and very, very deep across the board. And that's why I think they've been able to overcome these injuries. And I think as the season progresses, some of these injuries, some of these guys will be coming back. You talk about Mike Hilton. You talk about Ulysses Gilbert.
Yeah, we're winning without him. That's pretty good.
These guys are going to return. It's not season-ending type. So that's another positive as well in this regard.
I think you put it well. I got nothing else to add, man. That was you put it perfect, man. I mean, they could impact a little bit, but our depth is showing up. So that's all I got to.
Well, shout out to AB for that question. I'll let y'all decide which AB that was. Now, this next question is from I'm gonna just say Mahone Kid 13. I'm gonna leave it at that. But he wanted to know, do you think the Steelers should make a trade before the trade deadline? Now, obviously, this was I think he said this before the Avery Williamson trade.
Well, I was gonna bring this up. Do we need to keep striking? Do we need to keep going for another trade here?
Well, I really want to know. Yeah, what was your thoughts? Because I know you are our resident trade expert over here, man.
There are some guys out there. The one name that's being brought up is Desmond King from the Chargers, that they're openly shopping him right now.
Corner return man. Yeah.
Now, what's interesting about this one, he's in a similar situation to Avery Williamson in that his contract ends after this year. So we wouldn't have to, I guess, devote any cap space to him going forward, unless we wanted to re-sign him. And he wanted to re-sign here. Now, one of the things I was reading, someone was hitting me up in the comments in the past, probably 2-3 weeks ago, about Desmond King. Do you think we should be going after him? Is that he's a more physical corner. Maybe he could be playing more of a hybrid role, which could benefit us. That sounds good to me. I mean, I don't know how much tape you've watched on Desmond King, but that we're talking about depth and everything. That could be definitely an added element. You talk about Pro Bowl, All-Pro that he's had in the past. Dude, I'm definitely not opposed to it. What's it going to cost? Would it be a 4th rounder? Would it be a 6th rounder? I have no clue.
Yeah, Desmond King is a phenomenal player. Really good. He's been with the Chargers for a while now. It's very successful. Like I said, corner and return man. Obviously, you can never have enough good players. I think Avery Williamson, that trade shows that you can never have enough of those guys. I guess for me, my biggest question when it comes to Desmond King is the fit, because we already have Joe and Steven on the outside, and then you already have 2 really good nickel corners in terms of Cam Sutton and Mike Hilton, who we've seen play at high levels. And now Justin Lane, I mean, this is the 2nd week in a row we've seen him be a part of some big time ball. He was on the coverage on that play that Minka broke up in the end zone. I mean, that it doesn't get any more big time than that, man. So you see the depth that's in that room as well.
I agree.
I think the biggest, like you said, the biggest question mark is what's the cost? Because for the Avery Williamson deal, that was perfect in terms of you essentially swap a 5th rounder for a 7th rounder, but you get a very, very quality player, a guy who has a ton of starting experience, a guy who has a ton of playmaking ability, and has been a all down, all situations linebacker. So in that regard, I thought for what they had to give up, along with him being willing to restructure his contract, I thought that was a great scenario. Now with Desmond King, I'm not sure in terms of his willingness to do some of those things, or the situation in terms of what he's trying to go to. Does he want to go somewhere where it's stacked like the Steelers DB room and he's potentially going to be fighting to be a nickel guy? Or does he want to go somewhere where maybe they're not as talented, but he's going to get a bigger opportunity to audition and get that bigger payday that he wants? Those are some of the things that I really think falls into that.
Is that hybrid role off or not? I mean, what do you think of that? Like where he could come in and cover like tight ends or something like that?
Without a doubt, he can do that. And trust me, the Chargers have used him in that vein at times, especially when Derwin James had went down, or even before Derwin James had got there. They like to do that with Desmond.
That could be a help. That could definitely be a help.
Without a doubt, it can. But the reason why I say it's up to what Desmond will be open to is because a specialized role doesn't get you paid like a number one corner gets you paid.
Right.
And that's the biggest issue. So if you're Desmond, that's why I said I don't know him personally, so I don't know his mindset when it comes to that. But some guys, that's an issue for them. Some guys, they're like, hey, I want to play where I'm going to get a chance to show that I'm the guy and get paid. I don't want to just be another guy in the number.
Well, I guess it would come down to even just the Steelers-Chargers, but if you know that mindset from the Steelers' vantage point, you wouldn't want to bring him in if he's just going to be unhappy. Right. So as a the Steelers organization, you would want to know that going in.
Absolutely.
So you wouldn't make the trade if he was just like, nah, I ain't down with playing like 30, 40%.
But you would at least have that communication with his agent prior to, so you would have a feel for the idea. I'm sure when the details come out with Kevin Colbert and Avery Williamson and his agent, there had to be conversation had prior to that, because I mean, it's a risk for the Steelers when you talk about chemistry. You talk about it. You're bringing a guy from a 0-8 team essentially, or 0-17. What is his mentality? What is he gonna be like bringing him into your locker room? You want to have those conversations prior to making that move, because the worst thing you could do is destroy that chemistry, right? You bring in a guy who's very talented, but it's just not a fit for whatever reason it may be. And now you knock the train off the tracks, and that's what you don't want to do, especially at this stage. It's not like we're in the first 2 or 3 weeks anymore. We're at the midway point of this thing. So now it's like, all right, it's starting. It's going to get a lot thicker as this thing progresses.
Yeah, for sure. I like that question.
Absolutely.
I always like those questions.
Shout out to my home kid, 13. All right, so now this next one is from Steely Mike. Shout out to Steely Mike, by the way. And he wanted to know what we thought of Isaiah Buggs' performance.
Dude, I'll be real. I didn't notice too much throughout the game. It was obviously the big play. What was it? A tackle for loss,
yeah,
right?
Yeah, the tackle for loss. Then he had the 4th and 2 stop on Lamar at the end of the game. Yeah,
that's what I noticed. Outside of that, I didn't notice it too much. I mean, just even rewatching the game, man, it was hard to keep track of like what everyone's supposed to be doing, if everyone's playing it the right way, and just because how fast the Ravens offense moves.
Fast.
So it was tough for me throughout the game. I knew he was in there, like, because I think they mentioned him here or there, but the play I really noticed was the big tackle for loss, and then obviously you said at the end of the game there. Those are clutch moments. So good game by him. I don't know. So I'll be interested because you were probably analyzing him more just throughout the game, his technique, just like the little things. So I guess the question goes back to you. Yeah. So I thought Isaiah played well. Like I said, as the game went on, early on, it wasn't just him. It was and we'll get to this as well. But I thought the speed of it when he first got in took him a little bit of time to adjust to it. And then him understanding that when you're playing against an option team like the Ravens, you have to be fundamentally sound every time. He had some plays early where he was a little bit successful. And then he had some plays early on where he was also, like I said, not as fundamentally sharp as he needed to be, backdooring some plays. And what we mean by that is typically if a blocker is coming at you, right, you want to beat that guy to the spot. You want to cross in front of him, not behind him. When you backdoor someone, it's the path of least resistance. And if you're a great athlete like Isaiah Buggs is, you can make that. But when you're playing against a team that has great athletes like the Ravens have as well, when you backdoor things, you're just going to get gashed. And that's ultimately what's happening with him. And it wasn't just him. Like I said, it was a couple of the guys on the defense, especially the D-line area. And it just took them some time. But I did think as a whole, Isaiah Buggs, his energy, I loved his energy. After every play he made, man, he was jumping up. He was hyped to be out there. I love seeing that, especially with younger players. Like I said, in terms of him understanding how to attack Lamar as well. As the second half progressed, you would see everybody else was rushing. He wasn't even the spy, but his job as the interior rusher is to make sure Lamar can't step up. If Lamar does, you got to be able to come off the block and make the tackle. And you would see, okay, he would, push the guy back 1 or 2 yards, and he's just kind of sitting there. He'd still be open enough to make a move left or right.
Absolutely. Whereas with some guys, especially younger guys, when you get in those type of big games, you're so thirsty to make a play that you forget all about that. You just want to drive this guy back and show your great pass rush move. But while you're doing that, you're creating a open lane for Lamar. I thought he did a great job in terms of understanding that element of the game, understanding that weakness of the defense and saying, okay, this is how I fit in right here. This is how I can impact. And we saw him make multiple big time plays, especially late in the game. Like I said, on that, the 4th and 2 stop and the stop before that. And this is, like I said, their second to last drive, not the last drive, the second to last drive. We make the stop in the red zone. Those final 2 plays were made by Isaiah Buggs. But you could just see throughout the game how he was just learning that and adapting to that. But as a whole, I thought he did really good, man.
Yeah, I'm good with that.
And the thing, too, that a lot of people don't realize is Isaiah Buggs had a first-round grade on him coming out of Alabama. The knock on him was...
When did we even draft him?
It would have been 2 years ago. The knock on him was
When did we draft him?
It was sixth round.
Jeez.
But the knock on him was this. First-round ability... motor was his issue. That's why you hear me praising his excitement, praising him post-play, jumping up and down, because at Alabama, you would see him take plays off. He would look good for a stretch. I mean, I want to say he led their team in sacks the one year he was down there, and he looked great. But then you would see him take 4 or 5 plays off, and it was very frustrating. It was kind of like Jadeveon Clowney. We talk about Clowney, right? Man, he'll make a spectacular play, then he kind of disappears. That was the knock on Buggs, and that's why he dropped so far in the draft. But if this kid can continue to play like how he's playing right now, in terms of the energy, in terms of the effort, every snap, dude, that's a first-round talent for a reason. He is good. He has the athletic ability, and we saw glimpses of that yesterday.
Combine that with Hayward, Tuitt, Alualu.
Mm-hmm.
Now we got Mondu. Nice defensive line we got building here.
Man. Hey, man, and I'm just loving the fact that we're getting role players stepping up, making big plays. Isaiah Buggs and Henry Mondu. I love that element of it, man. Love it, love it, love it. All right, and then let's see. We got our last fan question.
This is the last question.
Last fan question right here. And this is from Live Motivated. Shout out to Live Motivated or Live Motivated. I don't know which one he was going with there, but
I think Live.
It might be Live, right?
Yeah.
I feel like it's got to be Live. All right, so what he wanted to know was, or what they want to know, because we don't know if it's a lady.
Might be a brand.
Right, you never know. Simply asked, if you had to name an MVP for the game, who would it be and why?
Wow. Man, you know what I want to answer, but dude, without Spillane's pick 6, and I'll even say this too, Highsmith's pick 2, those were huge. You can answer first. I need to think.
You need to think.
I need to think.
Why you need to think?
I need to think. I'm just trying to rattle off everyone's games in my head here.
You don't need to think. You know who you going. Just say it. You already in it to it.
It's tough. It was a team win, dude.
But he simply asked if we had to single out an MVP. Who would your MVP be?
So this is basically the game ball question.
Yeah.
I actually have a question about the game ball.
Oh my God. Come
down the line,
bro.
down the line. Not now.
All right.
Come on, man.
How hard is this, bro?
A pick 6 is a big deal. 10 tackles.
Fumble recovery as well. I think he had 2 fumble recoveries.
The one didn't count.
No, he had 1 fumble recovery, yeah.
The one didn't count. Did he get the one? Did he get Buds?
No, I know he had the one from Minka on the 4th and 2.
The 4th one, yeah.
Yeah, he had
did
that
he get
one.
Buds?
I don't know if he had Buds or not. I think, did Vince get that one?
I don't know either.
I don't know, but he has a pick 6, fumble recovery at least. And was it 10 or 11 tackles?
10.
10, okay. It's a lot of productivity, man.
Juju played good too.
It's a lot of productivity. Hey, are you finished yet, man? We know who you about to say, man. Just say it so we can go, bro.
So I could say it, and then we just.
You gonna say it regardless, ain't you?
I just don't want to get into a debate about it.
You said it last week, so if you gonna say it last week, for certain you gonna say it this week.
No, I didn't give him the game ball.
You wanted him on the picture though.
I wanted him on the picture.
So
I wanted him in the conversation.
If he's in the conversation, then you was gonna give it to him.
Who would have got it last week? Who would you give it to last week?
Last week I think I went. Did I go defense? I don't know who I went. I don't remember.
I don't.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't remember either.
No,
Did anyone have a pick?
I went Boz last week.
Boz.
Yeah, because Boz hit his field goals and then Goskowski missed the game winner.
Who? Oh, Juju and Deontay. You probably could have gave it to one of them.
But no, I knew who I was giving it to. You were the one who didn't know where you were going.
I didn't pick.
But you made sure you included a certain individual. So I'm just figuring, if you could do that at the last week, for certain you're going to do it this week, right?
Clutch second half, dude.
You don't got to sell it to me. You selling it to yourself or something, man. What's up? Go ahead.
I just don't want to be like disrespectful to anyone.
But you're that guy. It's okay.
No, it's not being disrespectful. Clutch second half, leadership, gritty performance, comeback. He's reading the defense, calling the shots. I got to give it to Ben.
Cool.
2 touchdowns. Yeah, I'm good with that.
Cool.
All right, who are you giving it to?
Robert Spillane. It's not even a debate to me, man. If he doesn't have that pick six, that sets the tone. The fumble recovery, I mean, just overall, he flew around the field. And when you talk about expectations, we were still having questions about him in terms of what he was going to do from a coverage standpoint. The thing that I really was impressed with about Spillane was how he handled adversity. I mean, the pick six part was beautiful. I mean, it was just a great call by Keith Butler in the defense. Obviously, he makes a good read on it, makes the play. But as a whole, the reason why I was more impressed with Spillane was this. Even when he had some negative plays, right? We know the Willie Snead catch that he had on him.
That was a good play by Lamar, though. Like, fitting that in there. Are we thinking the same play at the beginning of the game?
Yeah. This is the thing. In terms of you saying it's a good play that he fitted in there, I say it's a bad play in terms of him letting him get beat to his leverage back and forth when you're looking at the coverage element of it. But the thing with Spillane that I loved was this. Even when he had negative plays happen, he still responded with positivity. He still would respond with another tackle. He didn't let one negative play become right. He didn't let one become two, become three. And to me, when you're talking about younger guys that don't have a lot of in-stadium experience, guys that don't have a lot of productivity under their belt, it's easy for them mentally to go into the tank sometime if adversity hits them, especially early on in the game. But for him, man, to just see him still continue to respond, even when bad things happen, he still was out there making sure that, and sometimes being the common voice. I mean, you could watch him on tape and he's the guy doing some of the communication. I loved seeing that from him, especially, like I said, this week when you knew, okay, the stakes were only going to get higher compared to Tennessee and compared to that second half of that Browns game. But how he continued to respond, he put together a complete game, 4 quarters. And that's another thing. It's like we do this a lot, right? We magnify in-game scenarios, right? And because we do know those players are weighted a little bit differently. But to me, seeing a guy play well for 4 quarters and provide the splash that he provided, to me, man, I just think that stands out above anyone else because I feel like everyone else played their part and different times. Everyone had to step up. We talk about Ben, and we're going to get into him because, I mean, I thought he did a great job in that game in particular. But when we just go down the list, you could talk about Bud, TJ, you talk about Minka. We could just go down the list of all these guys, Juju, Chase Claypool making big plays. As a whole, though, I just felt like they were more collective, whereas with Spillane, I thought that he was more of the shining light throughout. And that was why, for me, I leaned towards him for the game ball or MVP of the game.
I'm not going to argue with that. I'm not opposed at all.
No doubt.
I'm not.
Trust me. If you, like I said, after last week, if you was gonna have been up there,
he was in the mix. But like, I gave the game ball to Claypool whenever he had the 4 touchdowns. And
wait a minute. And
I don't think for the Browns game we put Ben on there.
Wait a minute. You said you gave Claypool the game ball after he had the 4 touchdown game. Yep. And what was the first thing when we linked up? You said
no. I put it on the caption.
Yeah, but Ben balled out. I'm like, bro, what are you talking about here, bro?
Just telling truth.
Like, and we already said if Ben is the MVP, it's never but that guy balled out.
No. Whoa. You can't say that because I just said Spillane balled out.
No. The only reason you said that was because you felt that those guys deserved it more than Ben, but you knew you were going Ben.
No. I just don't want to make it an either or thing. That's all.
Oh boy.
I just don't.
You never get it's no advertisement is Ben. Ben is just Ben. When it's other guys though.
I was willing to split the game ball into like 4 or 5 pieces. That's what I was willing to do, but you made me pick one.
Golly, you funny, man. Man, but we had some other questions too that really pertain to the adjustments to first half, second half that I really wanted to.
I was gonna say we get into like summary of the game and stuff.
Absolutely, man. Because I was like,
that's probably one of the most interesting things that people want to know about is like what the hell happened from the first half to the second half.
Yeah, so I mean, just starting with the Steelers on offense, I thought the biggest difference. First half, the second half, number one, in the first half, they didn't have a lot of good starting field position points, right? We talked about even when Bud made the big strip sack, where did they get the ball at? They were inside the 5, I think it was. So and then from there, obviously,
that was after our fumble.
Yeah, and that was after the fumble. But you could just see as a whole, that first half, man, the starting points of the Steelers on offense wasn't good. They also didn't do well on terms of the first down plays, right? They never got those big chunks that you would want to see. So it put them behind the sticks. Then I also felt that in the first half between Ben and the play calling, they gave the Ravens DBs too much respect.
Conservative.
Yeah,
that's what I thought too.
It was just they didn't want to take shots or try those guys. We would see them occasionally throw a shot. We saw the James Washington deep pass,
that was it.
But other than that, they really didn't try to attack those guys, which we felt that, hey, they are very handsy. We said they were highly penalized, and it held true. I mean, when you look at this, they had 9 penalties, 110 yards, 4 turnovers. Steelers 3 penalties for 30 yards. So even when we complain about refs, it's like we only had 3 penalties, bro.
Dude,
3.
I was livid on some of those. Livid, but I think there were some calls that went in our favor later in the game, kind of make up calls.
I'm like, if we sat here but the way if Spillane Nation tells you the narrative, you would think that it was reversed in terms of us having 9 penalties. And it wasn't even close in that regard. So I thought that was another part of it, though, man, in terms of that first half, what was going on. But the second half, number one, you saw them speed up the tempo. Number two, they went with the empty set instead of saying, all right, we're going to try to run the ball against the Ravens defense, which we know if you just try to line up against them and run, they're really good at stopping the run in that regard. Yeah. But by spreading them out, that made them have to change up what they wanted to do, made them play a lot more small ball. And then from there, they just Ben and those receivers and the coordinators, they challenged the DBs. And that's what I love the most. Even when he wasn't taking shots downfield, he still was throwing the ball at them. And that was the biggest thing. I thought, like I said, in the first half, they really didn't want to challenge those guys like that. And then also you had the short field in the second half. You had the Highsmith pick. The first series of the third quarter, that was big.
That was huge because that was coming off. We got the ball right out of halftime, and then what happened? Oh, we looked good on that drive. We took the shot to Deontay. I thought that was pass interference, but they didn't call it. Whatever. Yeah. They get the ball back, and literally the first play, getting that pick, like that was huge. That was a momentum shifter right there.
Because at the time it was 17-7, and you're thinking, man, if they score again here, this could be bad, because up until that point, even when the defense had got to stop, it was on the 5-yard line. Like Lamar was about to score a touchdown. You know what I mean? So even though it didn't look gory, you still didn't have that same type of confidence at that moment. But from there, like I said, man, I thought in that second half, the starting field position was a lot better. They played way better on first down, and you could just see the offense start to click. And then from there, that's how you get those type of points like that. And I thought that was great by the offense, and more importantly by Ben. Because it was on Ben in terms of saying that, all right, look, you would see him directing traffic, giving a route to each receiver. Even when they had to call a timeout, they still were coming back to it. And that's the veteran leadership. That's what separates the Steelers from other teams in terms of having a guy like that who can say, all right, the running game isn't working the way we wanted to work. All right, this pass isn't working the way we wanted to work. All right, let's switch to this right here. Let's get this tempo going up a little bit. It's certain things that you have a feel for. And a coach can't have it because a coach isn't on the field. He's not going to feel it in the moment. You have to have a guy like Ben. And then from there, you just see the trust. Coaching staff trusting Ben in that regard. Players trusting Ben in that regard. Because when you play all that empty stuff, it's essentially playing 11 on 11, man on man. Because now the offensive line, they're one-on-one. You don't have that running back in there to protect you. For the receivers, hey, you got to win now because, hey, if they bring any type of pressure, we're going to be short a guy. You got to make sure you're executing. So the trust that Ben has to have in those guys and vice versa all goes up. So that's why, to me, I was like, that's the thing that I love so much. And that's what you get with Seven out there. Because of his respect, because of his playmaking ability throughout his career, you trust him in those moments. And that was the biggest difference to me when we're talking about our offense in the second half, man.
Against the Ravens on the road, it was one of the better defenses in the league. It was impressive. Now with the first half, and it kind of goes with what you're saying a little bit, but I just wanted to bring this aspect of it. It felt like both offensively and defensively, like we were just trying to feel things out. Maybe this goes back to what we were saying, like just being conservative. And then second half, we kind of had the formula, and that's when Ben started picking his shots, and you could see the defense playing a little bit better in the second half and containing Lamar and just containing their offense. I don't know if there's any credence to that, but that's kind of what it felt like to me. Like, all right, we're figuring things out. This isn't looking pretty. It looks bad right now, but second half came around. We figured it out when we went all out at it.
Yeah, so we addressed the offense, right? So for the defense, it wasn't scheme related, even though I did think that the coaching staff did a phenomenal job with their scheme in terms of Keith Butler and Mike Tomlin. We always talk about how coordinators offense or defense never get credit when it's good. They only get hate when it's bad. I did like their plan, though. The biggest reason why they were getting gashed in the first half was two things. Number one, anytime you're playing against a zone read style offense, whether it's the out of the gun like how Lamar does it, or if you think about like the military academies, right, Army and Navy, and they're doing the wing T in practice. Because your team doesn't typically run that, the speed is always going to be slower. The crispness of, man, these fakes and how quick it's happening is slower. So when you get out there, typically that first quarter to 2 quarters, your eyes, you're like, bro, this is happening so fast. It's hard to catch up with it. And you go through this thought process of, all right, I know I should focus on my technique here to get me through this scenario. But man, I just feel like I'm late always because of how fast they're getting off the ball, because of how fast these play fakes are happening, because of how fast they're up on us right now. So it takes time. And then, like I said, when you first have to get adjusted to it, that's one element. Then the second part was what I talked about with Buggs and some of the D linemen: swimming blocks, backdooring blocks, not meeting force with force, not having good technique early on in the game. That was another reason why they were getting gashed. But then the second half comes around, and number one, they got acclimated to the speed of it. Okay, that was the biggest portion of it. They had seen 2 quarters of it. They are all right. I done caught up now. Your eyes are where they need to be. Also, the injuries to the offensive line helped out a ton, man. Them losing Ronnie Stanley, their left tackle, and Tyree Phillips, their starting right guard, was huge because the backups, I mean, they ended up having DJ Fluker come in there and play right tackle. DJ Fluker, I mean, he used to be a guard. He could have flexibility, but he's not a premier right tackle type of guy. So just you seeing them having to use those different type of body types, that helped out as well. And then from a fundamental standpoint, man, I just thought as a whole, they were all on the same page. Everybody saw the argument with TJ and Coach Butts on the sideline. It was because of miscommunication. You're watching the tape and you see Bud playing the zone read one way. You see TJ play it a different way. Both ways, I'm sure, were a part of the game plan. Now, how they communicate what they're going to do each series is different. We won't get that information unless we were in the huddle. But the biggest reason why it was such an issue is on the particular run where it gashed, you can just see, all right, when TJ goes how he goes, Vince is a little bit late. Spillane's a little bit late. Then Vince gets cut, and now you got a gash there. And ultimately, when those guys are on the same page, when you're, and being that I played both of those positions, the thing is, man, when you're the edge guy, if you're TJ or Bud, to you is not as serious, right? If you take the dive, if you take the quarterback, or if you attack the mesh point, right? 3 different assignments, but to you, it's kind of all the same thing. When you're the off-ball backer, those 3 things are critical in terms of how you play it. If you're going down to the dive, I know right now I'm fast outside because, hey, you're taking the dive. I don't have to worry about that. I got to get this quarterback. But now if you're going for the quarterback, well, now I need to slow play this thing and be more inside. If you're going to the mesh point, well, now I'm trying to read and react off of you. But if I don't know which one you're doing, I'm going to be late. And if I'm late against the Ravens, that's the difference in a big game or not. And you could just see that in the first half. And that was that argument. That's what you're getting right there in terms of, man, what are we playing? How are we supposed to do this? What's the technique? What are we going to call going forward? But you know how it goes, man. In the heat of the moment, rivalry game, those conversations become a little bit more aggressive, a little bit more elevated.
Which is fine.
Which absolutely. And I always laugh because we always say, like, depending on which player it is, they're going to spin the narrative how they want to spin it. If it's Odell Beckham, it's a negative thing. If it's AB, it's a negative thing. We talked about with Brady, oh man, that's all right, man. He's just a competitor. At the end of the day, we all go through it. Anybody that's played, at a high level and has been in these type of highly contested games, that happens because there's so much invested in it. You want to win. You want it so bad. But at the end, because of the respect that you have and the love that you have for each other, man, you saw literally right after that, man, all right, we're good to go. Like, let's go ahead and ball out and win this game, which they did. But to me, that was just the biggest difference, man. We're talking about that first half, the second half for the defense, just acclimating to the speed, taking advantage of their injuries on the offensive line, and just being on the same page, man, technique-wise on the same page. And shout out to Keith Butler, man, for some of the run blitzing that he was doing as well. Because Baltimore, they had another adjustment, right? We saw in the first half, a lot of their runs were more inside, right? Where A gap, B gap, where the guard and center would be. And then we saw them start in the second half, they started hitting more on the edge. Keith Butler says, all right, well, we're just going to blitz Terrell Edmonds right here off the edge. Or we're going to make TJ shoot down hard off the edge. And then we could see how it would force the action and kind of make these plays have to be more to the sideline now, going more lateral instead of downhill. Those were all of the biggest keys from my perspective in terms of why they were able to make those why the second half looks so much better than the first half, especially when it comes to the run game, man.
Interesting. Now, this goes back to the game ball question that I had, and you bringing up the defense and TJ and Bud and stuff. You requested TJ in the game ball, where if you look at just the stats, like one sack, maybe you could have put Tuitt on there instead.
You could have put Bud. He was another guy.
Well, did you see something like in TJ specifically where in the second half you were just like, damn, like he's hit another level here, just reading the defense and what he's doing?
Absolutely, man. TJ, if you watched him, he was disruptive the whole game. And the thing that I love was this. And Tuitt should have been up there as well, man, because he obviously had the stats to go with it. The 2 sacks were big in terms of just him being disruptive. But the thing that I loved about TJ was even on the plays where he wasn't necessarily involved, he was still impacting because he was forcing the action to happen right now. If Lamar was faking, he was forcing Lamar to show his hand right now. Or if Lamar was giving the ball, he would make Lamar. You see Lamar back up 5 yards sometimes to avoid getting hit by TJ. It's small, but what that did for the defense, it cleared it up. Now there's no more guessing work. I don't have to worry, does Lamar still have it or not? As soon as you see Lamar starting to backpedal 3-4 yards, now it's clear. Oh, bang. All right, we're taking this running back now. And it simplified it for everyone else. But if TJ isn't as committed to what he was doing, and even with his rushes, man, you see him, he's still providing the pressure and making Lamar have to step up and feel just that, man, all right, this dude is on me. Even on the interception, TJ got a hit on him. Like, you feel that. That's in a quarterback's head. So to me, that's why I had TJ included in it, because even though it technically wasn't a sack, man, we know that pressure, that hit on the QB had a big time influence on that interception. And we could just see his stamp throughout the game like that.
Yeah. Is there anything else just in terms of the overall game? I was impressed. I just loved how we came back in the second half like that, especially against a great team on the road.
Yeah, for me, man, I look at it like, man, when you have a team like the Steelers they're hitting their stride right now, right? We talk about a team that the confidence is high. And they just believe it. Like when you see them as the game progresses, right, and it gets tight, and we always laugh about this, right? I mean, you've talked about this at times too, in terms of when it's a close game, how fans start getting nervous, right? But for the players, you're like, bro, this is what you live for, and you can just see the body language from the Steelers players as that game progressed. They weren't looking over their shoulders. They weren't concerned about making a mistake. They weren't concerned about, oh, are we going to make the play and lose it? No. They looked like the team that was going to make the play to win the whole time. Whereas with Baltimore, you just looked like, oh man, y'all looking a little shaky right now. Is about to make the turnover. It's about to happen. We all can feel it happening. We all got that vibe. You could just see they were a little bit tighter in those regards. And we saw that with the Titans as well. That's when you get a team that is able to win 7 in a row, or anytime you start talking about stacking victories, you just feel like you're gonna find a way to win every time. And I always equate it to if you're running track, right? You get Usain Bolt. When he's out there running, he's not looking over his shoulder worried about getting caught, is he? No, he knows if I'm out front, I'm leaving everybody, I'm winning. Even if he's behind, because sometimes he has bad starts, we're like, oh yeah, he's looking like, oh, I'm about to catch everyone. I'm not worried about it at all. And then you see some of the other guys, right, who they're good, but they're peaking. They're like, dang, is he catching me yet? I mean, I know I'm the top dude. I'm the number 2 guy, the number 3 guy, but is he here yet? Oh, he already passed me. Oh, dang, all right, he got me. That's just the difference when I'm watching the Steelers this year compared to the Ravens and the Titans and some of these other teams they've played against. Regardless of if they've had the lead or not, those other teams, they just look like they get tighter. They're trying not to mess up. Whereas with the Steelers, you can just see it doesn't matter what's going on. They know either we're blowing you out, we're going to come from behind and catch you, but either way, it's going to happen. And that's what you have to love about this team, man.
Well, I got to give a big shout out to the defense, dude. You talk about clutch and everything. I felt good about that last drive. Like, all right, we're going to stop them. I will admit, though, the drive beforehand, you know what I was thinking.
Let them score.
You know what I was thinking. So we would have enough time to have Ben conduct a drive to win the game. Because, dude, they were running out that clock. Mm-hmm. They were doing that the whole game. Their drives were like 5+ minutes. Yeah. And
I think they had 25 more plays than the Steelers had in the game. I mean, it was crazy. Yeah. Even when you looked at the time possession, like
it was. Oh man, it was double digits. Yeah, I checked before we started recording.
And I know for the amount of snaps, I think it was 65. I want to say for the Ravens to 40 for the Steelers. Like that's 25 different. That's a lot of plays, a lot of possessions right there, man.
Dude, it was getting down to within 2 minutes. I think we might have called a timeout. And then it was 3rd and short. I'm like, oh my goodness. If they get a first down, what are we going to have? 30, 40 seconds left if they score the touchdown? But you know what? I thought back to last year. I thought back to the Rams game.
Thank you.
I was like, you know what? Let's see what happens here. Let's see what happens. If I was the coach, I would tell them, let them score right now. But you know what? I'm not a coach. I'm not the professional here. And that was awesome. That was an awesome stop. 3rd and short, and then 4th and short to stop him like that. Yeah. And then coming back after we got the ball, we ran out the clock a little bit. We punted. I felt good. Like, all right, we got this.
Now, for me, the reason why,
especially they didn't need the field goal,
right? Well, and that's the biggest difference in terms of when you want to let a team score versus not letting a team score. You think of letting a team score if it's going to make it still a 1 possession game or a field goal game, right? You don't want to do that if that's going to make it where now we're going to still need an extra possession on the back end. And that's some of the concern that you would get when you're talking about potentially letting them score at that particular point in the game. So that's why for me, I was still just like, man, I think they're going to be fine, man. I know they're going to make a play somehow, some way. And even when you looked at some of the pass they hit downfield, and this is going back to more scheme related here, and when you're playing against Lamar, why it's so difficult. We talk about how the Steelers as a whole this year have predominantly operated out of man-to-man coverage. Now, they will dress it up, but it's typically going to end up being man. Versus the Ravens, they didn't play a lot of man. It was a lot of cover 3, a lot of zone coverage because of the running element of Lamar. You want to have guys that are seeing the quarterback, so if he takes off, you got guys to rally to them. Problem is, the soft spots of the zone. So a lot of his throws that he hit, especially in the second half, were the soft spots of cover 3. It's going to be a natural gap between where the linebacker or curl flat dropper is, hook curl dropper is compared to where the deep third safety is. And when we're talking about the deep third safety, those are, you think about Minka, like super far back, or Joe and Steven Nelson, they're super far down the field compared to Vince, Robert Spillane, and the different TJ and Bud. So it's naturally holes in it. So Lamar, I thought he did a good job of picking up those elements of it. But the thing that I thought the coaching staff did well at times was dress it up and make it look like it was a blitz at times, which we call simulated pressures. But ultimately, it's still just 4 guys rushing. They're playing cover 3 behind. That's ultimately how Robert Spillane got the interception. When it looked pre-snap, it looked like they were going to bring a blitz off the right side. So Lamar is thinking, that's my hot. You throw into the blitz, run away from it. So it's just simple football 1-on-1. Ball snaps. Okay, you see the guys coming on the right side, but he doesn't realize somebody's dropping out on the backside. So it's still just 4 guys rushing, regular cover 3. But now you feeling sped up. Now you get rid of the ball a lot sooner, and you hit a guy right in the chest with it. I mean, those are the things that the coordinators did that I thought was great, but it's only so much smoke and mirrors you can provide before a team starts to catch on. And I thought those last 2 series, when you talk about them moving the ball like that, they just kind of started to realize, like, all right, they're dressing this up, but it's still just cover 3. And then obviously, in that last particular play of the game, Minka just makes a great play in terms of breaking on the ball, man.
Dude, were you thinking they were going to throw a flag?
No, I didn't, because he made a play on the ball. That's the biggest difference. When you talk about pass interference, a lot of times it's related to a guy not seeing the ball.
Yeah, when they showed the replay, you could tell.
Yeah, he made a play on the ball. It was a great break by him. I also thought that Justin Lane did a good job of squeezing down on the route, because if Justin doesn't squeeze down as hard, sometimes, okay, if you're Lamar, you're not going to put that ball in the middle of the field as much. You're going to leave a little bit more space in between. So that was a part of that as well. I thought both of those guys did a really good job of that. And that was a part of it. And then also Marcus Allen, he did a good job with his depth in terms of being the hook dropper. He took his depth a lot further, which made Lamar have to put more air into that ball as well, instead of it being a more direct strike or more of a bullet style pass and things like that. So it was multiple guys working together there. But when you're playing Lamar, I mean, it's a challenge. It's a reason he was a league MVP. Trust me, as bad as he played against the Steelers in these 2 outings, he is a MVP for a reason, man. He does certain things.
Dude, he was their offense.
Absolutely.
He was their offense. Like, you never, even with the picks, you never felt like
they're out
like
of it.
Calm in your seat. You know what I mean? I'm like, oh man, what's he gonna pull next?
Absolutely, man. And we saw glimpses of that. I mean, we talked about the touchdown run that he had. They got called back thanks to Henry. But I mean, it's things like that he's very capable of. I just feel like, in terms of why we're always confident against him, I just think, man, our defense, we have the athletes to match up with him and force him to sit in the pocket and throw, and force him to have to read those coverages. 5
interceptions in the 2 games we played, and Joe Hayden dropped the one.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the biggest thing, though, man. We in terms of the Steelers and how they're created, they have the guys to rush up front, so you don't have to blitz Lamar. Because typically, if you're blitzing Lamar, it's going to be bad, because number one, you're letting him know right now, wherever that blitz is coming from, it's an open receiver right there. So he knows that already. So it makes the read a lot easier. Same with Ben. You talk about why people don't like to blitz Ben because, you're going to tell him the answer. He doesn't have to guess now. If that guy's coming from there, I know for a fact, wherever he's leaving, somebody has to replace it, and I can get that ball there before he can get there. So you know that element of it. But with the Steelers, what they're able to do is rush for and get pressure. And then when you talk about the athletes that they have on the back end, they can match up with any of the receivers that Baltimore puts out there. So, so that is why it's so challenging for Lamar versus when he plays other teams, they either have the rush but not the cover guys, or they got the cover guys but not the rush. And then he's going to eat you apart that way because now you can't get cute. You got to tell your hand. When you tip your hand against Lamar, he's going to kill you in that regard. But that's why the Steelers match up so well and why the Steelers are just so tough to beat because they're able to play any style of game. I mean, if you talk about trying to run the ball against them, okay, they can match up to that. You talk about trying to air it out and pass against them. Okay, they can match up to that as well. That's why they're just such a tough out. And don't get it twisted in terms of thinking, well, they look really good against Derrick Henry. They were really bad against the run this week. This was more just the scheme and system of it. Anytime you go back to playing against...
That's their offense.
Right. When you go back to playing against a traditional style offense, that running game goes right back to being null and void. It's just that particular style of offense, man. It's a one-off. And it's a reason why it's tough to defend, especially when you get the athletes that the Ravens have.
We didn't give up the big play, and I think that was the thing whenever we were talking about the preview. As long as we don't give up the big play, because they were able to gash us and get 5-10 yards.
I think the biggest pass play they had was the Willie Snead pass.
But even the runs, I think their only big run was whenever they called it back with that flag on Mondu. That's what I'm thinking.
I think Gus Edwards had like maybe a 20-yarder tops.
Okay.
Yeah, I remember two runs. One was an inside run, I think, by Dobbs, and the other one was on the edge by Edwards. The one where TJ and Butts have a little argument afterwards. Okay. Other than that, they like I said, did a good job in terms of preventing the big runs. The thing that sucks about that offense though is they're always on schedule. You have to make them have just a negative play, whether it's a 0-yard gain or a loss, to get them out of that zone read running stuff. I mean, dude, it's 3rd and 7, man, and they're still running the ball. Like, that's not normal.
You got to be on your
That is
toes.
not normal, man. As a defense, you hate it because, bro, on 3rd and 7, I should be rushing the passer. We should be playing small ball, nickel and dime. But when you're playing against them, how many times we see them run on 3rd and 7? And pick it up at times. You're like, bro, this is so
you do everything right,
man.
And it's still wrong sometimes.
Absolutely. And that was another element, right? You talk about, okay, we finally get the technique right. We finally get the call right. And then it's, now you got to make the play. And we did see where Bud and Lamar were one-on-one. And it was like, well, technically Bud did his job. He was in the right area. But now you got to try to get this dude on the ground. And we know that's tough, especially in a one-on-one scenario. So it was a lot of that going on, man. But the beauty is, this is a one style, just a one-off offense. I mean, we'll obviously see them again Thanksgiving, but other than that, you don't have to worry about this. So don't think that the run defense is broken all of a sudden, or we got bigger issues going on, because that's not the case. I know and I did catch what you were saying too at the broadcast. You were like, sometimes it gets a little biased at times, where it's like everything that a team would do, you just, that's why, because man, it's just boom, boom, you just hype it up, and you're like, bro, just easy.
Wait, what was said? I think I had my volume low. I didn't. There wasn't anything I caught this one.
Yeah, so it was just a lot of the running stuff, man. They were really, really overplaying in terms of just how phenomenal.
That they figured out the Steelers.
Yeah, and they just, hey man, the dam is finally breaking. I mean, when you face the Browns in terms of their running offense and how successful they were, then you go against the Titans. I mean, it's eventually.
I don't remember this.
But yeah, to me, like I just didn't think that was a scenario. I just always thought, man, when you're playing against a wing tee offense or a zone read offense, which essentially wing tee is out the gun, it takes time to adapt to that, man. But as a whole, man, I thought the Steelers adapted to it and did really well, minimizing the impact of it in the second half in particular, man.
Great game. Do we have hot topics now?
Well, yeah, I was going to ask you, man, what are your thoughts on Avery Williamson, man?
I'm good with it.
You like it?
I'm good with it. I would have loved Deion Jones, you know that. Okay. We gave up a 5th-round pick, Avery Williamson. I did what everyone else is doing. They're going online, checking his stats, trying to check some highlights out. What do the Jets fans think of him, whatever it is. Yeah. And it seems like he's solid all around. He's been a starter basically ever since he's got into the league. So he's had over 100 tackles, I think, 3 seasons. Yep. Obviously, toward the ACL in 2019. That's not the best thing, but this year he's got 59 tackles in, I don't know how many games. He's missed a game.
Yeah,
So
but he had played 95% of the snaps on defense, and then prior to turning the ACL in 2018, he was playing 99% of the snaps, which is huge because when you talk about that lets you know that's a 3-down linebacker. It lets you know it's a guy that's playing in all situations and scenarios. When you see, obviously we talked about Vince last year, right? Where it was like, well, he only played 30% of the defensive snaps. You know that's very package based, so you have to figure out what the limitations are. How do you expand it and things on that nature. Whereas with Avery, you're not going to have as much of that. But the biggest thing with Avery right now is just how long is it going to take him to get up to speed? It's a little bit different than Minka because obviously with Minka, it was more so just a coverage element. He didn't have to worry about run gaps and communication. It was more so, all right, if a ball hits, all right, I'm the cleanup guy. But if you are a corner or safety, you know cover 1, cover 2, cover 3, cover 4, 5, and 6. Just what's the verbiage? What do you call it? Are there any one-offs that you do? So that's why I think he was able to get out there and play a lot faster and have impact a lot faster. Avery, he's going to not only have to learn the coverage, he's going to have to learn the fronts in terms of, all right, is this a tight front? Is it eagle front? Are they under? Are they over? All right. What's the technique that you're playing when they're taking on blockers? Are they going underneath a block? Are they trying to hammer it, meaning stop the guy's momentum? Are they trying to just take it on more down the middle of the guy? As an off-ball linebacker, you have to know all of that so you can play fast and just ultimately do your job, not have to worry about, all right, how did he take that on? Because if you're doing all of that thinking and second guessing and waiting and watching, you're going to be late to wherever the ball is. And ultimately that's not going to be good. So I think that's the biggest thing with him. I don't anticipate him playing this week, honestly, because he has the 5-day. He has to have. I think it's 5 days of negative.
We didn't bring him in to play this week. I think it was more or less for depth.
Yeah.
You know.
So that's the big thing right there, man. Once I think the earliest he'll be able to actual practice though is Friday. That's what I'm saying that because I know typically in normal years, man, you see a trade and you're like, oh, I can't wait to see this guy out there. And people remember Yannick Ngakoue, he got traded and he got to play. The difference was they were on a bye week. So that's why you see him in the first game back. Whereas in this scenario, he more than likely won't play this weekend just because of the protocols from COVID and just not having a lot of time to practice before he goes out there. But I do think when he does get through all that and he has a full week of practice, I do anticipate him playing some of the sub ball stuff initially that you saw Ulysses Gilbert playing before he got hurt, that you saw Marcus Allen play. And then from there, as he grows and gets more comfortable and has a better understanding, I think we will see his role grow a lot more. But I think early on, man, it's going to be very specific in terms of how they use him.
When you say role, you think it will just be a rotation of the 3 linebackers? Maybe it'll be him and Spillane in at the same time.
It could be a mix. I don't think we're going to know that until he plays and we see how he progresses. Obviously, you're hoping that Spillane continues on this trajectory. I don't think any of us could have predicted this, not even him in that regard. So that's another element where it's not as cut and dry.
You don't want to take him off the field if he's balling out.
No. I get that element of it, but we have seen the Steelers do that at times as well. So that's my only thing. It's not as cut and dry as because if this is Devin Bush we're talking about, it's not a debate, right? You know Devin's going to be out there. Right now, that's not the case when you're talking about Vincent Spillane. Neither one of those guys are the clear cut, oh, that's our franchise linebacker right now. So when we're talking about Avery's role expanding, if Avery plays well and these guys are still, and obviously, like I said, with Spillane, we all agree that, hey, he is playing out of his mind right now. But if that doesn't continue in terms of it just taking a step to just being average or okay, and Avery is doing some things that are crazy in practice, he's looking good, that role is going to expand. That's what we're getting to in that regard. And that doesn't just apply for Spillane. It could go for Vince as well. The only reason I don't put
whoever's
Vince
playing the best place, yeah.
In that element of it, but I just it's more that goes into it sometimes than just, all right, who's playing the best. That's the only thing I'm alluding to right there.
For sure. Yeah, dude, seems like a solid player, solid starter. We only traded a 5th-round pick. I was reading, I mean, you might actually have more info or just intel on him because he's with the Jets. You probably watched some Bills games. They were saying he's a really good run stopper, but is so-so in coverage.
The thing is
is that accurate or off? This
is the thing. In terms of evaluating him in coverage, number one with Greg Williams, because that's the DC down in New York with the Jets. They play a lot of zone coverage, 4s and 6s, right? And it's not even like in Pittsburgh, we play more matchup zone, right? So even though it's zone, it's really man.
Okay.
It's just how we dress it, but you're playing man pretty much the whole time. Whereas other plays, when they play cover 4, they're going to be playing just like a zone, like a traditional zone look. That's what they asked him to do. But then also you have to remember this. We talked about how when you have the front that the Steelers have, It's a lot easier to cover, right? That ball's coming out right now. You don't have to worry about double moves. TJ Bud rushing to it, Cam. You think that quarterback has time to pump, look right, look left, and do all this other stuff? Nah. So that is going to help him out a ton. Whereas in New York, he didn't have that type of front. He didn't have those type of DBs out there with him. Just as a whole, that defense wasn't very good. So now you're putting him in a way better situation. I fully anticipate his coverage being a lot better. I mean, we talk about Vince and Spillane this year, right, in terms of their coverage and how obviously Spillane these 2 weeks have looked good.
Well, yeah, we haven't noticed like anything that's drastic.
But this is the thing. This is the thing. I'm like, the situation is great in terms of having that rush. You put them on that Jets roster and ask them to cover how they're covering right now, it's going to look drastically different. So that's the only thing in terms of when people talk about his coverage right now, you got to wait and see how it's going to look when he actually has talent around him and a legit pass rush around him, man. We know a pass rush can make your corners look great at time, can make your linebackers look great at time. Now he's going to get that. So he's going to get his fair share in that regard.
Cool. Maybe unlock some potential here.
Absolutely, man. Trust me, no one thought Spillane could cover, right? And even, like I said, with some of his shortcomings, when the rush is rushing how they're doing, man, or even when some of the safeties are helping the way they're helping, you get through it, man. You make it work.
Well, and here's what happens, too. Whenever you see Vince, I think there was a touchdown on him yesterday, and even Spillane, if it's a receiver, you're kind of like, all right, that should have happened, no? Like, are you really knocking the linebacker that much?
It's just different. Like, from your perspective, without a doubt, you're 100% right. As the players, our mindset is you don't want to get beat anyway.
Okay.
And I thought Vince did a good job because it was, once again, man coverage, right? You run into that. Mika did a good job of showing body position on the inside, right? So initially in the route, because it was an outbreaking route to the corner pylon, 7 cut, right? So initially Vince has outside leverage. Mika shows inside, so makes him have to break out. My biggest thing with Vince would be, bro, if you know you have help inside, what do you do on a 7 cut? You slice the 7. You play heavy on that. Use your leverage. Use your help. He played it more straight up than using his help. That would be the biggest thing. And that's why for me, like where you say, man, you know,
there was something you could have done.
Right. If I'm Coach Butler and I'm coaching Vince, I'm saying, bro, Minka is right here at 10 yards depth, inside leverage. Lamar sees him. That's why he wanted to throw it early, but he couldn't because Minka is sitting there. Bro, break now because there is no in-breaking route that you're worried about. You're only worried about the out-breaking routes. You don't have to worry about a stop right where he runs 10 yards and stop because why? Minka's on your inside. Minka can break to that. You don't have to worry about a deep end because Minka is right there. The only thing that can hurt you is a fade ball, a 7 cut, an out-breaking route. So I'm going to play that route. That would be the biggest thing that I would say in that regard. Other than that, I don't look at it as a mismatch because it's a receiver. I'm looking at it like, all right, if you get your hands on him, great. If not, you could play off, but you know where you have your hope at. Play to where your hope is. And that's the biggest thing with that, man.
Okay, gotcha.
And that's why, like, even when we said with Spillane on Willie Snead, I didn't mind the completion. The issue was, bro, you let him cross your face twice to beat you to your leverage. Initially, you stopped him. Initially, when Snead ran inside, Spillane cuts him off. And Spillane did a great job of that. And then Snead breaks out. Then he comes back out. And then when he comes back across, that's when he beats him. It's like, bro, don't try to beat him out there because that you got help out there. You can't get beat across your face. Don't lose to your leverage side. Coach Tomlin talks about that ad nauseum, which is why I'm always talking about don't get beat to your leverage. It would
you like that word,
nuts,
leverage.
I like it now, but I used to hate it when you're playing because under him, anytime in practice, man, even if the guy doesn't even throw him the ball, if a guy crosses your face to the leverage side, he's losing it. Bro, you can't get beat to your leverage because that's the weakness. And on the flip side, on offense, he's telling those guys, when of the receivers they had, you better win to that guy's leverage side. There is no excuse. If that guy's playing heavy outside, you better hit him with a move, head fake, and win out there because that's where we want to get the ball.
Lose.
Yeah, absolutely, man. So as a defense, you're
someone's
like,
getting yelled at.
Yeah, you're like, bro, I absolutely hate this though because it's all you talked about, your leverage. And that's why when you saw those two particular plays, you understand the importance of your leverage. Because if they have their leverage right, neither one of those plays happen. But when you are just a little bit not on the screws, just a little bit less detail in terms of that element of it, we saw the results in both of those plays right there.
Yeah. I don't know if I have any hot topics here. I think I just want to shout out Juju, man. Is he the next receiver one?
You tell me, man, because I can't keep it with who your receiver one. You said you was going to keep riding with Claypool.
Claypool had a touchdown. I'm good with that. No, but seriously, Juju... Dude, Juju balled out yesterday. Like some of him finishing some of those catch and runs was awesome. Like the one I really loved was whenever he Ben zipped it in the red zone.
Yeah.
He zipped it right to Juju. And then,
By
like,
the goal line, right? When he almost scored? Yeah.
Because, like, the throw, everyone was concerned about Ben's elbow because he was rubbing it and stuff, which I think they've been doing throughout this whole season.
Yeah, the massaging it where to put the
I understand
big,
it came after a sack,
the oven bag on his arm and stuff.
Yeah, but that just went to show everyone, yo, my elbow's good, my arm's good. Zipped it in there. And then Juju, I think he was stopped like 2 or 3 yards short of the first down. Just to, man, that second effort, that was badass, dude. So that was one of my favorite plays of the game. Just shout out to Juju, that because he had some tough yards. Like we even just dumped it out to him.
The one on Humphrey was at 3rd and 2, I think it was, where we threw it to the right. He catches it, and it's literally him and Humphrey 1-on-1, and he just shows he's more man than a man. Drives his leg.
He did it a couple times. He's been doing it all season too. So it's just cool seeing the receiving core we have. Like Deontay, he has the agility, the side to side, make you miss. Claypool, kind of a combination of both, but like he's like the prototypical receiver, fast, can beat you down the field on some deep routes, and then Juju slot, and then he's gonna get an extra 2 or 3 yards on you and just power through. It's really cool, man.
Absolutely. And the thing that I also love about Juju is this. I mean, he's 23 years old. He's in a contract year. People forget that. You know how hard it is to keep your spirits upbeat. I mean, each week we see him, even if he's not even getting a target, man, he's down there celebrating with his guys.
He was dancing.
He's like the first one to high five a guy that scores a touchdown. We obviously remember him carrying Deontay, I think it was 2 or 3 weeks ago. Like, I love that type of energy because from experience in contract years, it can be stressful. It can be very nerve-wracking because you're so consumed with, man, what are my numbers? What are my numbers? If my numbers are down, I'm not going to get the money I want. And you can get enamored with that. But seeing him and seeing his energy both on the field and post game, I don't think we should take that for granted because we've seen, especially here in Pittsburgh, where that hasn't always been the case with receivers here, man. A guy doesn't get the touches he wants. And even if the team wins, he's not happy. They aren't as, jubilant, or they're not as joyful about their teammates and celebrating with them. And that's not just here in Pittsburgh, but globally, we've seen that. But to see Juju and his energy throughout, and I talked about Claypool last week, highlighting him in that regard as well. I don't think it should be taken for granted. Absolutely. I don't think it should be taken for granted. I think those guys deserve to be talked about because they're being very unselfish in that regard. And like I said, for Juju to be 23 years old in a contract year with all the scrutiny that was around him leading up into the season, for him to be able to still operate like that, man, it's a beautiful thing to see, man.
Interesting take on this. Hear me out. Mm-hmm. You know how people rip on Juju for the social media videos or just having the social media presence, putting his time into that? Mm-hmm. What if that is the factor in him being so unselfish? Where he feels like, you know what, I'm confident in my stuff, outside of football, where, all right, whatever happens here, I'm good with. I'm just trying to have the team win and just not try to rock the boat. What if that's the case? I
mean, that could be. And
it's just trying to spin things a certain way. Like the thing that people rip Juju on, it could actually be the positive thing that's helping him on the field being the team player.
Well, and we always say too, man, for the people that rip a person for what they post on social media, it's 24 hours in a day. It's not as if these social media clips are 24 hours long. So you really don't have a clue what this person is really doing with their spare time. We would always joke about the workouts, right? You see a guy post a 2-minute workout video and people are like, that's the hardest work I've ever seen. And we're like, bro, I was working out with him. He ain't even doing anything after that. He just walked out. Like, but you fell for it. And how many times we would see guys post workout videos, they get into camp and he's like, you're not even in shape. But everybody's swearing down that you're the hardest worker in America because of 2 minutes on social media. People have to realize, bro, social media, man, people are just showing you a glimpse of what they want you to see. That's it. So for the people that got issues and saying that Juju's not focused or he needs to do more of that, it's like, bro, literally add up how much time these videos are that he's posting and tell me compared to how many hours in a day.
Because he ain't editing that.
Close, right?
He's not editing that.
Not at all, no man. I'm going to do the vid and after that, send it to my team and they take care of it, man. So that's my other thing when it comes to the social media stuff and people criticizing for that, man. I just don't think it's warranted. I think a lot of times it does stem from a little bit of the jealousy element of it. And just the fact that people don't like to have to acknowledge the differences in people, right? People want
generations,
right,
whatever.
It's more so it has to be this way and this way only. And we're always like, well, no, it can be that or this or that. It doesn't have to necessarily be if you're a wide receiver one in the NFL, you can't be on social media. You got to focus. You don't celebrate. You shake hands like Larry Fitzgerald and just walk off. Not everybody's Larry Fitzgerald. Not everybody operates like that. I mean, it's not a knock on them. It's just everyone's different. It's like a snowflake. We all are different, man. But people don't really like to acknowledge that when it comes to these type of situations. They feel like it has to be this way.
Like I said, what if it's a positive? But I
don't have issue with it, man.
You could spin it like that, where he's confident in himself, his brand, whatever it is, where he could just say, "Yo, I'm all about the team with football. I'm just trying to win because whatever I've built outside of this, like that's always going to be there. I can get my money, whatever it is from that. So let's just win football games.
Absolutely, man.
That could be an interesting spin on it.
Right, man. Right. Oh, I did have another question for you before we
do.
Are the Patriots over?
Are they done? Yeah, I think your Bills got the East. I think they got the East.
I was watching that as well, and I was just like, man.
If he didn't fumble, then it would have been
different, right? Yeah. But I just feel like, man, this is the first time we've seen them drop 4 in a row. And they haven't looked good, man. That's the thing. Like, I don't know what it was. Ever since Cam had to not play because of COVID, man, they just looked off ever since then, man.
Obviously, they don't have any help, but they were still
injured as well. Now
they were still able to get through it, and they like in that second half, the fourth quarter, them getting the game close and everything, and having that last drive to try to was it for a field goal? Was it trying to win?
No, it would have been for a field goal because it was a 3-point game at the time.
Oh man, so they blew the potential overtime.
Yeah,
damn.
So that's my only thing. I'm just like, dude, like this is.
Yeah, I think they're done. Brady's winning that divorce, dude. He's definitely winning.
Well, at least right now,
Long term, I mean, when are they going to get that thing on track? Because they don't have any talent.
Right, that's the thing. Because they're so banged up and beat up right now. I'm just like, man, I don't like outside of Cam. What really scares you about their offense right now? Especially with Edelman being in and out with injuries and stuff. I think he's about to go to IR. So like that's the thing. I'm like, what do they do to make you scared?
No, not at all. And actually, looking back now, I think there was a legitimate argument saying Brady didn't have help last year.
Oh, yeah, without
Well, because here's the thing. The first 3-4 weeks of the season, Cam was looking good with the offense. I think that's so much more of like Cam can make it work a lot easier just with his play style.
Absolutely.
Without as much help as opposed to Brady, who's
more of a traditional quarterback. Sit in the pocket, need the weapons. Yeah.
So, but now you're seeing it's snowballing. I don't know what's going on. Maybe Cam's not playing up to the best of his ability. And the Patriots' weapons have gotten worse, so it's just all around bad for them.
But Bill Belichick is still sticking with Cam Newton, though, so that's good.
He should, I agree. They don't have anyone else.
I agree, man. I think that it's one of those things because of
they almost
Patriots. I know, and trust me, the Bills, and this the thing with the Bills is kind of frustrating right now as they sit at 6-2, atop of the division with a 2-game lead right now. They're playing well enough to win, but they still aren't playing these past 3 weeks. They haven't been playing good ball. I mean, they're still having issues in terms of scoring points. They're still having issues in terms of protecting the ball. And just as a whole, I mean, they're getting back healthy. Obviously, Matt Milano was back out there. That was a huge boost for them from a defensive standpoint. But as a whole, man, they just don't look like they're clicking on all cylinders just yet. I do think that they've benefited from that Jets team, and then obviously playing against the Patriots team. That's helped in these past 2 games. But as a whole, man, I think they got to get get back on the same page a little bit as well, man.
You're concerned?
A little bit. Trust me, yeah. And we talked about how, like, when the Steelers, right, with some of the early wins, even though they were close, how the concern level wasn't as high for the defense at the time. We're talking about, oh, man, we're getting gashed a little bit on the pass and stuff. Because it was more so, hey, man,
Steven Nelson said it himself.
It's the communication, it's the reps, it's the technique. It's not personnel related. Whereas at times with the Bills game, and you're just watching, you're like, man, this is starting to look a little bit more personnel related, especially in terms of how they're protecting Josh Allen as well and things like that. That's my only concern with them is like, all right, are you going to start? When are you going to get the swing of health coming back your way? Because as it stands right now, they haven't been able to get a lot of their key guys back yet.
Is Zach Moss the leader in that backfield now?
Man, he's emerging, right? He's looking good.
You did the film session on him, and then
he had 2 touchdowns yesterday as well, man.
Well, he had 80 yards too, so I didn't know if that was a thing now. Like I know you guys drafted
Singletary a year ago.
Singletary last year, there was a lot of buzz about him. Obviously, you drafted Moss, but is he the guy now?
Well, put it like this: yesterday they both had 14 carries. I still think that Singletary is. I feel like Singletary is the more dynamic back, but Zach is your Frank Gore, your steady Eddie, you're consistent, the guy who can run in between the tackles and take some of those hits. Whereas with Singletary, I mean, Singletary, he's an athlete. I mean, think of LaShawn McCoy type. That's the vein of Devin Singletary. Now, with that, I mean, obviously he's not to the same pedigree of McCoy, and I think that's the biggest knock on him, in terms of when Shady was Shady, it was a reason. Like, you could just see
top 3 back in the league.
Make you miss ability, the speed. Singletary is a poor man's version of that. And it's not a knock on him. It's more so a compliment to how good LaShawn McCoy is or was in that vein. And I think that's the biggest issue right now. But he's still consistent. Whereas with Zach, I just think Zach is the guy that you can run an offense through in terms of just, it's not it's not going to wow you with blazing speed, or he's not this Brandon Jacob type, I'm running through, or Derrick Henry type running over guys, but he's super consistent. He's playing well. And when you talk about a rookie playing well, I mean, you never know you never know what to expect with these guys.
Yeah.
But for him, man, I think that he's doing a really good job in the role that he's had. And it's a reason why it's continuing to emerge because of how well he's been playing.
Yeah. Who do they play next?
They play the Seahawks. Yeah,
because they've been winning the games they should.
Yes,
losing,
they lost the ones they should.
Chiefs and Titans.
Yeah.
Although Titans, they just lost to the Bengals.
Well, I think that's more so the Bengals are. We
They're
talked
emerging.
About this. The Bengals, in terms of their record, we said Bengals record and Bears record. You should just flip flop those teams.
No way,
bro. For me, the Bengals are a good team. If you watch the Bengals on tape, bro, they are not bad. They are literally in every game. Burrow is throwing dimes. Like, they are a good team. The problem is who they've been having to play against, man. That's definitely added up to this.
Well, man, the Chargers game, they kind of got screwed.
But and we know the Chargers, man. We've seen now they've had. I think the Chargers have blown 4 or 5 leads now in games, double-digit leads. Like, they're a
competitive team,
right? Absolutely. We know. Okay, the Browns. They went back and forth with the Browns. We said the Browns.
Who they get smoked? They got smoked by the Ravens.
By the Ravens. But
I think that was the only one.
Yeah, the Ravens smoked the Bengals, and the Ravens smoked the Browns. But other than that, the Bengals haven't been smoked by. I mean, outside of Baltimore, that's the only team that's really got them after that, man. They've played well. That's the thing about them. They're a sneaky team. I just don't think that they
ain't making the playoffs.
Well, no. Well, obviously, I mean, when you have this many losses at this junction, but the thing is, man, they are a competitive team. It's not like, and that's why I said it's not what their record says. When you see their record, you think, oh, bums. No, I mean, if you put that team in the NFC East, I can assure you they'll be winning the division right now. Like, they're good enough to do that for a fact. Okay. So that's the thing with them, man. And
what is it? Is it just their offense is that much better?
Their offense is playing a lot better, man. Their offense is playing a lot better.
Defense, same, little bit better.
I haven't watched.
They just traded Dunlap.
Well, for BJ Finney. Shout out to my dog Swaggy B, man. Coming back to the north, just on the wrong side right now. But that's my guy, man. That is my guy. But the thing that I'm seeing is, number one, Joe Burrow, man. He literally excites them, man. You see how they play for him. They compete with him, and he is a competitor, bro. Like, it's times where he's not getting protected.
Dude, and Herbert, I can't believe this.
Bro, it's times where Joe will take some shots, but man, I just love his competitive nature and ultimately how he leads those guys, man. But they're probably 1 or 2 pieces away. They need 1 or 2 pieces. I would have loved to seen Joe Burrow with the weapons that Baker has and the team that, if you could have.
Bengals weapons ain't bad though.
No, but I'm saying as a whole, offense and defense.
Oh, okay.
If you can give me that for Joe Burrow, I think Joe could do a lot more with that, because I think he looks like the more polished and better quarterback than Baker Mayfield. That's the thing.
Better running game for the Browns.
Yeah.
I guess
better offensive line is not even close. If they had Odell. Yeah, but the offensive line is not even close. Yeah. That's what I'm saying. Like, when we think weapons, we just think wide receiver, running back. I'm like, bro, he doesn't have protection. Like, that's a weapon. Like, I mean, dude, he's getting smashed at times. Baker, that's not the case with Baker. Baker's protected. Baker got a nice little pocket back there. Now, his decision making isn't the best, but that's another case. But if Joe Burrow had that, I think, man, their team would be a lot better, a lot scarier as well. Right now, it's just him standing on his head doing crazy stuff. Shout out to the hockey term. You heard that right there, standing on his head. I learned that. And Joe and the running back Mixon, man.
Okay. I think that's it.
I mean, dude, the AFC North is the best division in the NFL right now, man.
It has to be.
It definitely is, man.
I mean, yeah, if Browns would have won yesterday, they would have been 6-2. They're what, 5-3 now?
5-3 right now. Mm-hmm.
Ravens 5-2, Steelers 7-0. Yeah. NFC East, or not East.
NFC West. I would say, Lord, don't put the NFC East in this thing. Boy.
Yeah, West. Are they? What are the Rams? They just got smoked by the
and
Dolphins.
the Niners are
Why am I saying smoked so much today?
I don't know,
They
bro.
just got
What's on
smoked.
your mind?
No, but yeah,
Shout out to Tua.
I would say AFC North over NFC West. But
I just think from top to bottom, even the bottom two teams,
like you
of the
said,
AFC
Bengals
North, man,
could they spell some trouble for teams? They just beat the Titans.
Absolutely,
So.
and the thing is, watch the game. That's what I always encourage people. Like, don't just look at scores or.
I just got red zone, dude.
And we talked about that, right? Remember we said, and I think because you said. I remember when we had the conversation of how red zone could give you the details, and then I asked you, and then we were like, "Oh, I didn't see that part." And it was like, "That's red zone."
Oh, the
bro.
Tannehill.
Yeah.
You're like, you see Tannehill? I'm like, what? He threw for 4 touchdowns? Because, dude, every play I looked up, he was bombing something. But yeah, exactly. I have no clue.
Yeah, so that's the only thing. It's like, man, if y'all just go back and watch Cincy, man, like they can move the ball. They are a. I just look at them in that next wave. Like when we talk about if it was a top 25 ranking, right? We think about it in college football, right? So about the top 25 rankings. You can have a team that's ranked 15th or ranked 20th. They're still a good team, but they're not with
Maybe
the rest of the
year.
guys, right? So when I look at the Bengals, I look at them as like, all right, they would be receiving votes to be in a top 25 type situation. Like they're a good enough team that they're going to give you some competition. But you could just tell they don't have enough across the board to compete with the top tier teams. And I think that's the biggest knock on them.
So AFC North competition in the next like 2 or 3 years could be crazy.
Oh, absolutely. I hope it goes back to how like it was 14 to 18 where we were having three teams go. Absolutely. Yeah. Like I think it could be a scenario like that. I mean, who knows? We might be the first one with 4 teams with the new format. Could, maybe, potentially.
Yeah.
Just depending on how it all stacks up, man.
Yeah, they were saying maybe the NFC West this year, but 49ers, they just got beat.
Yeah.
So they're under 500 now. Or maybe they're 500. I don't know. They're around there.
Yeah.
They may not make the playoffs, but yeah, maybe next year would be the first team or the first year for that,
man. Because AFC North was spinning 3 guys to the playoffs like every other year, back-to-back years at some point, man. So that's just a testament to the AFC North, though, man. I love it. The black and blue division of football. Man, I feel like I'm giving all the hot topics here. You ain't got no more hot topics, man. What you got?
No,
man?
I'm good. Yeah, you've been giving the hot topics.
Okay.
I'm good. I just wanted to shout out Juju. I think I'm done.
See, I was so excited, man. Just my prediction staying alive.
Because we already talked to Avery Williamson. We talked. Did we talk Spillane? We talked Spillane.
Yeah,
we're good.
Buggs,
we talked about a potential other trade.
Excuse me. Yeah, man.
I'm good on hot topics.
I made sure I had the hat on yesterday as well.
Yeah.
As much as I didn't want, it was funny. I come downstairs with my hat. Wifey's like, you keeping the hat on? I said, I guess I don't have a choice, huh?
You believe?
I don't believe, but I said I don't want to make Spillane Nation mad with me. So I said I'm gonna make sure I had his hat on. And so just keeping it rolling.
2713 beard and the hat.
The hat, bro. It trust me, that hat be hot sometimes, man. Because I get excited. I got all my festivities going on. It makes the top a little warm.
I'm sure. Yeah.
Yeah, but it works though. We're making it work. So we'll keep that thing rolling. But as a whole, man, great job, man. Great episode. Shout out to the team 7-0 victory Monday. Let's keep this thing rolling, baby. So shout out to everybody that's been tuning in for the ride, man. Whether it's the podcast, the YouTube channel, we're gonna keep the content coming. Shout out to all the subscribers, all the new subscribers as well. And until next time,
peace.